What do you do when peace shows up, but you're still full of doubt? Welcome to Your Week with St. Luke's, your weekly podcast from St. Luke's United Methodist Church in Orlando that invites you to go deeper with Scripture, to learn God's story so that together we can live, love, and lead a life following Jesus to awaken disciples and reveal the kingdom. We're continuing our tour of Love University, and during Eastertide, we're gathering in the Commons, a space where we remember what it means to be a resurrection community, people who wrestle honestly with fear and uncertainty, yet are continually met by the peace and presence of Christ. Today, we return to Luke chapter 24, where the risen Jesus stands among his disciples, speaks peace into their fear, and invites them to see and touch the reality of his resurrection. As he opens their minds to the scriptures and shares a meal with them, he transforms their doubts into understanding and sends them out as witnesses, empowered for what comes next. You'll hear a conversation between our three pastors, Corey, Jad, and Melissa, as they reflect on this powerful moment of encounter and calling. Let's jump right in.
Welcome back to Your Week with St. Luke's. You got all three of your pastors here, Pastor Jad, Pastor Melissa, and Pastor Corey. And we are continuing in this Eastertide series as we are gathering together in the Commons of Love University and seeing how after the resurrection, Jesus is showing up in people's lives, showing up around tables, showing up with food again and again. And so I'm a big fan because I'm going to say Eastertide's about food now. That is what our new theme is. Sorry. But we get this additional, last week we saw where Jesus revealed himself for the first time to two disciples on the road to Emmaus. And then we get now Jesus revealing himself to more people, to more disciples, to showing himself again. So we are picking up right back where we left off with Luke 24, but we are starting in verse 36.
Yeah, I'll pick it up for us. While they were talking about this, what we talked about last week, Jesus himself stood among them and said to them, "Peace be with you." They were startled and terrified and thought that they were seeing a ghost. He said to them, "Why are you frightened? And why do doubts arise in your hearts? Look at my hands and my feet. See that it is I myself. Touch me and see, for a ghost does not have flesh and bones, as you see that I have." And when he had said this, he showed them his hands and his feet. Yet for all their joy, they were still disbelieving and wondering. And he said to them, "Have you anything here to eat?" They gave him a piece of broiled fish, and he took it and ate it in their presence. Then he said to them, "These are my words that I spoke to you while I was still with you, that everything written about me in the law of Moses, the prophets, and the Psalms must be fulfilled." Then he opened their minds to understand the scriptures. And he said to them, "Thus it is written that the Messiah is to suffer and to rise from the dead on the third day, and that repentance and forgiveness of sins is to be proclaimed in his name to all nations, beginning from Jerusalem. You are witnesses to these things, and see, I am sending among you what my Father promised, to stay here in the city until you have been clothed with power from on high.
So Jesus now has been seen by more people, right? We started out last week with a little bit of gossip that there was an empty tomb and there were rumors that maybe he was alive. And we get that confirmation, that revelation, that moment of recognition with our first two disciples. And now we have more disciples who are getting to see him live and in person. But they think he's a ghost. I just love that little tidbit here is they're going, well, must be ghost Jesus who has shown up to see us. So let's put ourselves in those disciples' shoes right now, right? What are they feeling? What are they thinking?
Corey, you were going to say something?
I'm just trying to what would that be like?
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
I mean, we get, terrified, afraid. I mean,
Yeah. Overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
Like the beginning of this text is like right from last week. And so the two have come back
Mm-hmm.
and they're all kind of confirming each other's stories,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to make sense of it when he shows up. And yeah, I mean, you to experience something so surreal, like, yeah, how do you, yeah, of course, like, I'm gonna try to put, like, how do you put that into, I can't put myself into feeling that
Mm.
thing.
I mean, when it
Ryan,
says terrified and afraid, I think about, of what are we afraid of? What's scary in this moment?
mm,
And I think there is an element of in this moment, as much as they are devastated that Jesus died, it's a big jump to go to except he didn't, right? Or he did, but now
yeah,
he has not. And I imagine that there is, there may be other, contextual things where this kind of, it might feel like magic, it might feel like something that isn't, what Jesus would have done, or do they have other stories that are of apparitions? And so what do you do with this? Someone that I knew was dead is now standing in front of me, so I have to make sense of it in a way that that works within whatever context I find myself in, right? And the only context they could have had was, well, must be a ghost because he's definitely dead, right?
well, I think I just picked up on this for the first time in reading this chapter is that I think Jesus he shows up before the other two disciples can arrive.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a 7 mile walk, but he took the fast track and disappeared because it's the very next verse that he appears, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and it says that they go and
they got there.
yeah, they got there, and it was, I think they are just starting to tell them basically.
Right.
So they're starting to share that we saw Jesus, but I don't think anybody expected like ta-da, like right.
Yeah, it's kind of like, the hey,
Oh, okay.
the women
I,
told us,
okay.
these
Uh-huh.
the named women in Luke, of course, always,
Mm-hmm.
told us, and we left and we encountered Jesus. We were back, and then he shows up. So yeah, um,
Okay.
But almost simultaneously. So Jesus
yeah,
disappears from them. They think they're going back to Jerusalem to tell, and Jesus just pops up in the exact moment they are telling.
right. And
So,
he does kind of wait, right? Because he could have just shown up, you know.
mm-hmm.
Um, and if it takes about um, you know 20 minutes to walk a mile, it takes about 23 minutes to walk a mile. I know that because I'm doing a lot of walking. Right, 7 miles. It would have, been about
Two
two
and a
and
half,
a half,
3 hours.
3 hours
Right.
later.
Yeah,
He kind of waits, or maybe he does something else.
yeah. But we get this moment where Jesus kind of has to prove himself, right? And this is a really really interesting one where I feel like usually we're used to Jesus just declaring things and kind of walking away and going kind of believe it or don't.
Right.
But here he's taking the time to go, no, really, look, see, this is the physical living proof. I am the living proof of all of these things being fulfilled. He says, touch me and see. A ghost couldn't have, flesh and bones. A ghost, you couldn't feel
He
that.
rationalizes with them. The
Yeah,
irrational resurrection Lord, right? Rationalizes with them. Like a ghost doesn't do that.
yeah.
Like common knowledge.
And he still sees them in this sort of tension between questioning and joy. Like I almost don't dare celebrate this, right? It's too good to be true. I feel like that's this moment is it feels too good to be true for the disciples. And that's when, again, one of my favorite Jesus moments in any gospel, his sort of like final, like, let me, this is my last card on the table. Do you have anything to eat? Because it must be common knowledge that ghosts can't eat, right? And so
Y'all got some snacks?
so he eats fish, and in that moment, that is his kind of, last card to play.
Well, he needs fish because he left before they could give him bread.
Right.
They break the bread and he leaves.
He
He didn't even get to eat.
Right.
didn't have the last meal, so he's gotta jump in on this one.
I think it's interesting that this is the second time that they have thought Jesus was a ghost.
Mm.
When he came walking on the water
Mm-hmm.
and they thought he was a ghost. And again, it is I, don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Uh,
Declaring peace be with you,
Mhm.
in moments that they aren't feeling very peaceful.
Mhm. And they all doubt.
Yeah.
You're all doubting. Every one of you is doubting. In a couple of weeks, we're going to get to the one we solo out, but they all doubt.
Mm-hmm.
They all doubt.
So I wonder if we think about for ourselves, what do you think that would be now? What would Jesus need to do if Jesus like showed up right in front of you right now? What what would we want him to do to prove, right? Is it the same kinds of things? Is it I just
Yeah, I got some water here.
to eat and to drink, it's and I think going back, Jad, to what you were saying last week of, even if we don't see it, Jesus is there. We kind of get this too, is even if we don't recognize him, even if we're not ready to believe it, it's still true. And so that ability to doubt, and doubt being faithful, and doubt being holy, and doubt being okay, our doubt and where we're at doesn't determine whether Jesus is resurrected, doesn't determine whether Jesus is at work, doesn't determine whether Jesus is present. And while he does, go to great lengths here to prove himself out, his reality, his resurrectedness, his physical form, his embodied resurrection here, is not dependent on whether or not
Yep.
right.
it's believed
Yeah.
or recognized.
Yeah. It stands on its own. Jesus
Mhm.
stands on his own.
Mhm.
I think it's interesting also in Luke, this is kind of Jesus' third appearance of the risen Christ. Um,
Mhm.
13 through 31, 34, and then here in this section, um, it's kind of his third appearance. Um, and so there's a bit of Trinity. We could
Right.
impose that upon it. But I also think there's this idea that Jesus will keep coming back
Mhm.
and find and appear to you and in a way that you will know. What I mean in that the grace and love of Jesus will keep coming,
Mhm.
and won't stop loving you and embracing you and receiving you and showing you life in the midst of death and pain and um, that you it stands on its own. Yes, doesn't need us, but will always be there for us as we need Jesus.
Yeah. And as he continues to show up for these different groups, the end of this is, and you're going to go do great things, right? I am sending the people who struggled to believe he was standing in front of them are the very people that he sends into the world. And I think so often we have this idea of, I don't have enough faith. There's no way Jesus could call me. I can't be the one. I couldn't possibly be somebody who, tells somebody about my faith because I don't know enough yet. I don't have enough knowledge, or, I'm doubting right now, or I'm struggling, or whatever it might be. And he he talks about these are the people who are going to be given that heavenly power, that power from above that is going to empower them to do that. It's not their, again, it's not their belief, it's not their doubt, it's not any of that that determines whether or not they're sent. Jesus sends these very people.
Yep.
I love that about God's love and care for us and wisdom to know that we would need these examples over and over and over
Mm-hmm.
that St. Peter, right, denied. And then here in this story, because we get that whether it's imposter syndrome or feelings of inadequacy or failures or hangups, um, they become stumbling blocks to trying to serve and serve faithfully. And so I just love these stories for these reminders of that. Um, Kind of putting together what you both just said. Jesus is going to continue to come to us, respond in the way that we need, care for us, and continue to empower, equip, and to send us for the work ahead.
And
Uh,
he's sending them as a group, right? You see at the end, it's not you and you and you and you and you. It's you are witnesses of these things. I'm sending you to what my father promised. He's speaking to the group, and I think recognizes that they are called to do this work together. It's not just an individual calling. That going back to what we've been talking about, what it means to be the church. That I say this a lot in benedictions. We do not do this alone. We do not
Right.
go out into the world to do the thing that we're called to do alone. That's kind of the point of community, right?
It's the whole point. And I'm glad you mentioned it because I pulled my Greek to double check, and it is the plural you once
Good,
again,
great.
right?
I was hoping so.
It's y'all. It's y'all,
All
all
y'all.
y'all, all y'all. And so when he says that you, it's yeah, it's and we as benefactors, we receive this tradition, we receive this text, we receive this faith, and we grow in it on ourselves. It's us too, right?
Yeah,
It's not just a story so long ago. It's now too.
right.
And I think that's the power of coming together in the commons. That's the power of
Hmm.
Eastertide. That's the power of like what we just experienced 2 weeks ago with Holy Week.
Hmm.
And there's this individuality feeling, especially on Good Friday, that resurrection gathers us together. Jesus gathers us together. And that's why that y'all, all y'all is so important. And Jesus, that's what he's saying there.
Hmm.
All of you,
Yeah.
all of you.
So let's do that. Let's come together and be reminded of the y'all that we get to be a part of this Sunday at St. Luke's in worship. It's that's what that gathering is about, right? That's part of it is renewing ourselves and being able to come and offer to God what God has offered back to us to love God as we talk about in the learning, living, loving, and leading. Um, but I always encourage people in worship, look around, not because I want you looking at how somebody else is worshiping, but just remind yourself each Sunday that you are not there by yourself for a reason, that there's a reason we do communal worship, that there are ways that we can, have worshipful moments on our own, but that's worship is about a gathered community. And so we will see you this Sunday as we continue this journey together.
See you then.